Tiger fans, to another edition of the UNCAGED podcast. I'm Dan Hawk, your host, along with my other co-host, Mr. Dustin Smith, Executive Athletic Director for Broken Arrow. A lot of stuff going on. We've survived the storm. I'm glad you're back in the hot seat with me. But we got a big special event coming up at the end of the month.
Yeah, we got Freezing for a Reason, which is a fundraiser for our Special Olympics kids to be able to go to a meet this summer. And what we do is we jump out in the frigid water, and we call it Freezing for a Reason, obviously. But you're jumping in the water and you pay money. It's a fundraiser basically for the Special Olympics program. And we've had it delayed a couple times.
Sure.
The first time we're going to do it, there's a fine line between fun and
insanity,
and crazy, and we didn't want to jump into that craziness. And the day before, the temperature was like 2, and so we punted a week. And then because of the temperatures being what they were, a pipe broke and busted at the facility, so we couldn't jump into the pool then. So we're waiting another week, and some will question whether it's freezing really because the temperatures are supposed to be in the 60s and. It may be more like a relaxing trip down the pool, but
it's still going to be cold.
It's still not going to be.
You're jumping in, aren't you?
I'm voluntold that I was going to be jumping in. So.
I believe I'm in part of that as well.
But it's for a great cause, and it's an opportunity to. It's some mind over matters. What I keep telling myself.
I'm with you on that.
It'll be the 31st of January, and it's right across the street, actually, over here at the country club right across the street. So it'll be a fun time. We'll start at like 4 in the afternoon, 4:30, something like that. But be a lot of people to jump in. Hopefully, a lot of people just come and be part of that, and just endure. And our Special Olympics athletes, they'll jump in as well. So it's a fun day. It's a fun event, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Do you have your swimsuit, like as to what you're going to wear?
I asked if I could use like a wetsuit. I could just that way, thermally heated inside. But I'm not sure that and water go well. But yeah, I'm preparing myself, preparing for towels to be ready as soon as we get out. But, again, it's for a phenomenal cause. And if it's a little bit of uncomfortability for me, I can make that work. And
another big topic of discussion is this right around the corner. Signing day is going to be here before we know it. And it's not just for football. This is for all sports and whatnot. I know that you get a lot of phone calls, you get a lot of emails, and you're trying to figure out where our future former Tigers are going to head. What's this day like for signing? Because it's kind of toned down with 2 different signing day periods.
Yeah, and what I've always said is we try to celebrate not just the kid, because it's a phenomenal accomplishment, but we celebrate the parents too, because the parents put in that time and hours and money and miles,
effort,
chasing
everything,
kids around and trying to set them up for success. So this is a big day, not just for the kid and not just for our program, but for the parents as well, for the family to be able to say, hey, and this is a time to really celebrate those kids, which is a really cool thing. And so that's on February 7th. We'll do it in the VTC, which is our indoor facility, and it'll be a big production, and we'll celebrate those kids and those families in the right way.
I got to ask you about signing day because, with the way college athletics has changed, where guys have been able to come back for another year and whatnot, how much more important is signing day for our high school students? Because so they're not being overlooked and they're getting that chance to play at the next level and not have to sit.
There's a lot of questions about the transfer portal,
right,
and how that's going to impact, or the NIL deals and how that's going to impact, 'cause a lot of these college kids, if they're getting an NIL deal, can be more lucrative than what they're getting if they go to the pros.
Right.
So they stay. Dylan Gabriel, who's going to Oregon,
right? Third school now.
Right, he's paid more to be able, and he doesn't have to worry about being cut. He's there and he's getting guaranteed money. So the NIL has changed the game a little bit. Transfer portal obviously has changed the game a little bit, but there's still incredible value in having high school kids and recruiting those high school kids to be part of your program.
For you, as you've been an athletic director, not just here, but all across Arkansas and whatnot, what is that day like for you when you see these kids put pen to paper and get that opportunity to compete at the next level and get their education as well?
It's such a small percentage of people that get to go play at the collegiate level. So that's a very special day. And in the past, I've written letters to every one of those kids that have signed just to say, hey, I appreciate what you've done, how you've represented us. This is a huge step. And I remind them of what I told you. Celebrate with your parents and make sure you thank them for all the sacrifices that they made. And being a parent myself, I understand just those sacrifices that go into chasing your kid everywhere and letting them chase a dream. And it's not everybody doesn't get to do it, so it's a
Right.
very special day. And before we jump off into something different, I need to congratulate our junior high cheer team that just won nationals last weekend in Dallas.
Very
And
big, very
it's
big
a
time.
huge deal for them. It's really exciting to see our kids on the national stage be recognized, and those kids have worked incredibly hard to be able to get to that moment and to win a national championship is really big time, and looking forward to those kids progressing through high school and what that looks like for high school cheer as well. And then our cheer and dance teams, the Tigets and the cheer team are going to nationals in February. They'll head down to Orlando. So I want to shout out to our spirit teams and what an incredible environment they provide, and the sacrifices that they make year round. You see them at ball games
Yes,
and
you do.
basketball. You see them at football.
Wrestling, you see them at everything.
They're there to support our programs, and the terminology cheerleader is sometimes overused,
Mhm.
but they are really they really bring a spirit to, and they take great pride in what they do. And so I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize them and wish them obviously luck as they go to nationals, but thank them for what they do and what they bring to the game day environment, football, basketball, wrestling, whatever it may be. They're there, and now they go to nationals, and it gives them opportunity to showcase their abilities at the national level, and I'm excited about that.
Speaking of programs, we're going to be joined by Shane Coffey, head coach of the women's basketball team here at Broken Arrow. What has he meant to this team and the way they've been able to play this year?
Man, he's positive, and he brings a personal relationship with those kids, and he coaches individually. I like watching just when kids come off the court and his interaction with them and what he's teaching them, because coaching doesn't just happen in practice,
Mhm.
and it's in the game environment, and you see that interaction with those kids and their response to him. And uh, he he knows more basketball, and he's probably forgotten more than I'll ever know. But I just like to pick his brain and try to. He is so intense when it's game time, and I try to just crack a joke and say something about the score, how you can win, and I don't get in the strategy. I just say score more than they do, and when you do that, you're going to win every
You're
time.
going to win
So,
every time, exactly.
we have those conversations, but just his positivity, his depth of knowledge, but his genuine care for our kids, it's elite. And he talks about being elite a lot, but he's an elite coach, and we're fortunate to have him at BA.
Yeah, and he's been building something very special because we do not have a ton of seniors on this year's squad, and we've been able to put quite a bit of wins together with a very young squad. It's going to be fun to visit with head coach Shane Coffey inside the Arrowvision studio, and we have Coach Coffey coming up next on the Uncaged podcast. Stay with us.
Your side hustle keeps you moving. We'll help you get where you really want to go. TTCU Federal Credit Union. Life is better in balance.
Tulsa Bone and Joint, Northeast Oklahoma's sports medicine experts. We are pleased to help you and the athletes in your life with a number of surgical and non-surgical options. Tulsa Bone and Joint is proud to serve as team orthopedist for local high schools such as Broken Arrow, Owasso, Sapulpa, Cascia Hall, and Bishop Kelly. We're also proud to be team orthopedist for FC Tulsa. Tulsa Bone and Joint, moving life forward.
Hi, and welcome back to the Uncaged podcast. We're now joined by head coach Shane Coffey, along with executive athletic director Dustin Smith. Coach, this season, it seems like it's just blew by fast, and it's now down to crunch time. How do you feel about your team on where they've been from where they started and where they are right now?
You're right. This season has just flown by. It just seems like yesterday we were just starting the season out. But our kids have done a phenomenal job this year. We try to create a recipe here at BA that's a little bit different than a lot of schools and what they do. We want to go play the best that we can in tournament play. And we got challenged early, got pushed, had to deal with some adversity. But I think we're starting to see the reaps of the rewards, you could say, as a result of it now as our season is rolling along, and we're starting to kind of click as a team right now at the right moment of the season.
For you, from where this started, when you looked at your team, we knew about McKenzie. I mean, she's been the glue that's held this team together, but there's been a lot of pieces with this squad that I kind of want you to break down a little bit, because it's not just the McKenzie Mathurin show.
No, absolutely. We just in the last 3 games, we've had 4 kids scoring double digits, and that right there says a lot about where we are as a team and really trying to play team basketball. But Macy Maricini, she's our point guard. She had an opportunity to start for us last year, grew up a lot early, helped us get to the state tournament. But, she just has a little bit of dog, I think is the best way to describe her. In her, and she's just such a fierce competitor and wants to win. And I was going through stats just a little bit ago and saw in our Stillwater game she was 1 assist shy of a triple double. And she texts me to tell me that too. And she's like, "Do you realize I was just 1 assist away?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's awesome." But she's doing everything she can to make our team better. She's looking for teammates to get them involved offensively, and obviously is just tenacious on the defensive end of the floor, which is great. Rakiah Bowen is another individual that just continues to grow within our system. Offensively, you're going to get someone special, night in and night out with her. But she's a big rebounder, and I think that is something that can make an impact on us down the stretch as we make a run here in the playoffs for sure.
Well, coaches, we've talked about a number of times throughout the year the importance of Macy being the point guard, but what she does and one of those stats you talked about is double figures was rebounds. I mean, she crashes the glass and she plays a lot bigger than she is in all aspects, both defensively and attacking the glass. How important is that for you to have somebody who, as the point guard, is a floor general, but does all the other things that you want your players to do?
I think it's huge. I mean, you don't see a lot of 5'5" point guards, just dominating the boards. But because of her tenacity on the defensive boards, she is able to help jumpstart our transition game, and I think that is a big part of our success for sure.
When you look at the way that she can get the rebound and then get the offense going, she can get it in transition, and you want it in her hands a lot of the time anyway. She sees the floor so well, and probably the biggest compliment I could give her is her basketball IQ is really high, and she understands a ball coming off the rim, what it's going to look like. She can track that down. And then we talked about it yesterday, her little floater or her little runner that she has used, and because of her 5'5" stature, I think she's tried to perfect that a little bit because that gives her an opportunity to score inside. But she's not limited to just that floater. She can shoot the three, and as we've talked about a number of times, she can open up the floor for other players, and she sees the floor really well. So Macy has been a big surprise, I think, or I don't want to say surprise. She's been somebody that has been a highlight for this year, and somebody that is not a senior. So you've got her coming back. You've talked about Rakiah. You talked about McKenzie. We've got a lot of nucleus. This isn't what you would call a senior-laden team. You've got a couple that spend some time out there, but mostly you're a young team per se. And so how important is it to have that experience with McKenzie and with Rakiah that people have played in big games before?
I mean, I think we can look back to a year ago, and we were really, really young a year ago, and playing Kins and Macy, big moments and opportunities to play in big games. I think it's done nothing but it helped us get to this point this year. But I really think that their ability to kind of be in those big games has helped them handle situations even this year. And we just expect that to continue to blossom throughout the rest of the season.
For you, you've been around the game a long time. How much fun are you truly having with this year's squad? Because it's not a senior-laden team, but they're playing like seniors.
It depends on the game, I'm sure.
Yeah. And I'm assuming, I mean, I know Mr. Smith is right about that, but you got to be having a lot of fun when you're seeing, it's not just the McKenzie show. I mean, Macy's been able to step up, and she's not a player necessarily that you would assume that would get a lot of rebounds, but she's a dog, like you said, down in the middle to pick up a board.
Having a blast. I've told somebody before in an interview that your big time is where you are, and BA is a special place, in so many ways. The fans are great. The community's great. The support that you get is phenomenal. But our kids love each other, and they are willing to just go sacrifice themselves to help us be successful. And that in itself makes a coach very, very happy, and it puts us in a position where we can be successful night in and night out.
Well, we talked about as we look at this team, and I'd be remiss not to mention Taryn and Scarborough, and people that are big pieces for what you're doing out on the floor. talk about the presence of those two, and um, Scarborough was. I mean, she played a little bit last year, and she's even younger than the other ones. I mean, she's a sophomore and getting some significant time and play some significant minutes for you. But talk about those two girls in particular and what they bring to the table.
Absolutely. Taryn is a joy to coach, number one. I mean, she is a coach's dream. She is so coachable. All you got to do is tell her what to do, and it falls into place. And that's something that I really really appreciate. Her ability to develop her footwork, her ability to be able to finish around the glass. Has been very, very significant in our success. But she's also a big time rebounder, and a big defender for us. So her expectations of herself are really, really high, and I know that she gets down on herself if she doesn't perform at a high level. But we talk a lot about that, and just understanding that you're human and you're going to make mistakes, but as long as you're being a big time contributor in a positive way for our program, good things are going to come to you. And Taryn's done that for us for sure. Now, Brooklyn has really kind of skyrocketed her game in the last probably 2.5, 3 weeks. Her confidence level has grown. I've always believed that she could be a really good lockdown defender defensively, but she's somebody that has really sparked us offensively here as of late. So I'm really, really excited about the growth that she's had and really expect bigger things from her as we get into the playoff scene.
That's right around the corner. I'm glad you kind of brought that up because, this season, like I said, has just flown by. You played a lot of tournament style games earlier in the year, some that, you want to win the tournaments, but at the end of the day, they don't affect your record as far as district play and whatnot. But it's crunch time now. How much of that message do you have to tell the girls, or do they kind of understand it because they're not a senior laden team, but they get what's on tap for them moving forward?
They hear it every day, in practice, the importance of district play. And everything that we do in practice, we try to make it as game-like and as competitive as we possibly can to kind of put them in situations that are going to prepare them, for these big moments. We've got, some big games left here on our schedule before we get into the playoff scene, and we know that we've got to go and take care of business. We can't overlook anybody. We've got to make sure that we value every opponent that we play. We've got to make sure that we're going about our business every day. And the most important thing is we've got to worry about what are we doing as a team to get better. If we're just happy winning and we're not getting better as a team, then we've got a problem. But these girls, they know what it takes to get to the state tournament. They have bigger dreams and aspirations of winning the gold ball. So as a result of that, they know that the work is done in the practices and the rewards are the games itself.
Well, Coach, as you have coached as long as you have, you know that there's two sides of the floor. It's not just offensive. It's not just trying to outscore teams. Obviously, I tell you every game before we play that you got to score one more than them and they can't beat you. But the defensive end, and you preach that with the girls, how important is that defensive end for you as a coach?
Oh, it's huge. I've kind of transformed a lot over my time as a coach, where when I first started, I was a diehard defensive coach, diehard. And as time wore on, I became a little more of an offensive-minded type of coach. And I think over time, it's blended really well for us in our program. But defense is what's going to win championships at the end of the day. And we really, I felt going into Christmas break, weren't playing our best defense. As a team, we weren't rotating very well. We weren't communicating. We weren't just getting the things done. We just expected it to happen. And we knew we could outscore people. And I'm like, listen, we've got to build this up. So since Christmas break, I mean, we spend probably a good chunk, 25, 30% of our practice now is defensive shell drill, defensive transition drills. I mean, things along those lines that we know are going to make a difference in games when it matters most.
Coach, this year's a little different as far as the playoffs are concerned. And in years past, we had to worry about your non-conference or your non-district and the rankings that came associated with that. Talk about, just give a small synopsis of how this year has changed and what the importance of district play is.
In the past, people were scheduling tournaments just to win games, you know, and now it's not that big of a factor. So district play, these games matter. The top two teams in your district have an opportunity to host a regional, and getting those 2 extra home games in the playoffs means all the world, to your team, and giving your chance even a higher opportunity to be able to get to the state tournament itself. But this year, the layout for our regional is there's a double elimination from the get-go. In the past, it was first game and you were done. Now it's a situation where if you lose the first, you still can come back through the losers bracket. Our ultimate goal is to, take care of business and just go win 2 right away and get to the area tournament. But there's always that back door, that you can get through to get back to the state tournament, which I think is kind of an exciting new element to the game.
Well, it adds an element simply because if you don't play well one night, it's not dictating your postseason life. I mean, you can come back and play another night, and we've seen it a couple times this year. Sometimes the shots aren't falling, and maybe the other team they are. We can use Choctaw for an example. They didn't miss playing us, and so that game won't determine your fate. Where before you could have lost that first round game and been done.
Exactly. And I hope that we don't have that kind of shooting night again.
Yeah,
we don't need that. Hate to bring that up.
Yeah. Well, Coach Coffey, we appreciate you joining us on the Uncaged podcast. We wish you the best of luck the rest of the way. We'll hopefully get you on before postseason gets underway. For Dustin Smith and Coach Coffey, I'm Dan Hawk. Thank you for joining us on this edition of the Uncaged podcast. Until next time, go Tigers.